No pressure.
Are we videoing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. A little story about Lou. Lucio came here. I think we're going on almost 2 years. No, it'll be 2 years in February, March. And when Lou came to me, he was unrideable and uncontrollable and completely a mess. He probably had a touch of kissing spine because whoever had worked him prior had him so upside down that he had no top line muscles, and his neck was probably, I would say, 8 to 12 inches shorter than it is now. So we have been working on trying to teach him and educate him that he can trust his own body, and that the handler is not a scary thing. It's been a pretty long journey with him, and he still has a fair amount of struggling. Right hind has an issue, and definitely the right rib cage and the right base of the neck. He struggles with yielding over and really has no idea about how to use his top line. So we've been helping him put the pieces together through many different variations of work in hand, free lunging, very minimal riding, because when you get on him, he basically loses his mind. Even if you sit up there and do nothing, he panics. So it's been a long journey, and I thought that I would do a little bit of stuff with him today, and I'll explain as I go to the best of my ability. He's standing pretty good. Ideally, I'd want the front end a little more open, but at least he's standing with his front feet fairly perpendicular to the ground and quiet. He would tend to stop and stand with his front legs together, or one behind the other, or one slightly close to the other with his head stuck in the air in another direction. So it's been a long process of him learning how to A, trust humans, and B, trust his own body. And in order for a horse to trust you, you have to train them, and you train them through putting their body in a more comfortable place. The more comfortable you get the body, the more the horse begins to trust you. So it's been a long journey, because whoever handled him before did a lot of fighting and did a fair amount of damage to the neck, the poll, the rib cage, the hind end, the psyche. So we're gonna start with, actually, we'll start with doing a little bit of a downward stretch to see if he'll follow me down without resisting after the bugs. Somehow we have bugs again. So when you go to ask him to go down, he wants to resist a little bit against me. So I'm gonna kind of play around with what I need to do to try to help him to follow me down, so that I'm not pulling him down, so he's actually following me down and not resisting. So there he's resisting. So if I go to try to pull or tug or affect that, he's just going to resist more, which pulls the base of his neck in this way and hollows out his back. So we just kind of keep on playing around with where the horse is stuck. So there, when I asked him to come down, he wants to look to the outside and resist against me and lean on me. So you could see the weight shifting onto me. So there's no point in me asking him to come down anymore, because if I do, he's just gonna throw his shoulder weight into me. So now I'm gonna ask him to move his shoulders a little away. Sometimes it's like waiting for paint to dry. painful for me to stay down there for a long period of time. But now I don't like it because he's splayed out. So then I ask him to just fall away from me. But what I don't want is him to overbend his neck, because then he just falls out the outside shoulder. So then I'll ask him to move away again. So my asking him to come down and slightly bringing his nose a tad bit to the inside helps the horse to yield the inside shoulder and fall away from me, but then he loses the outside shoulder and then just literally falls out the outside shoulder. Then we'll shift back. Good, and then over. And then straighten because he wants to overbend his head. And then back. Good, and then over. And then no. And then back. And then over. So the object is the horse keeps his head lined up in the middle of his chest without me holding him there. Here he's trying to look past me and the front end is not good. And there's your release in the jaw, front end's a little better. So back to nose in, shoulder away. No, because then he just steps out with the outside shoulder, which is not what we want. Because the horse is not using his middle, he's just falling away from the rest of his body. And here's the issue: when you go to get him to connect in his middle, he panics. And again, I'm not holding him straight, I'm just offering a suggestion. Here he's looking to the right and falling into the left. Nope, and then he just steps away instead of around. Away. So then I shift it back. As boring as it is, the first step matters in everything you do, especially when you go to mount a horse for the first time. You don't want them to be so disconnected with the middle of their body, because that's where the rider's sitting, that you have parts flailing in all different directions, because that's not going to be a good start. Nope, and then here he struggles. He started to get it right, and then he disconnected. Nope, there he's just falling away from me, not coming around me. Good. Oh, and then he overbends. When he overbends, he's not connected with his middle anymore. And then now he's overbending. Better. Good. he's a little more lined up with his own body. Briefly. And the object of all this is, there's many things, but one of the things is that you want to maintain the connection with the inside eye of the horse, because as the horse's inside eye stays connected on you, the inside shoulder can softly yield away from you, which then allows the outside shoulder to come around properly. So the horse begins to build an arc around you so that you're kind of the center of their world. If the horse starts doing this and looking around and becoming resistant, as you can see, when the head goes up, the back drops, and then the horse's hind end completely disconnects with the middle of the horse. So through that exercise, you're trying to get the horse to come out in the neck, release the base of the neck so that his shoulders can function in a forward motion like a wheel, and then the middle actually stays in line with the rest of his body, and the back then starts to carry the middle because the hind legs are staying lined up with the front end of the horse. If the horse resists like that and looks away, it's very obvious the back then drops. So if I try to pull on the horse's head right now, it's just going to create more resistance. So now, because I can somewhat trust the horse that he won't run me over, because before, if I was to let him go into this space, he would have been on top of me in a second flat. So now it's trying to teach him, like, how do you follow the human comfortably with minimal resistance or no resistance. There, so when I ask him to come forward, he's stretching the neck out and following me. Then I ask him to stop again. And then his tendency is to want to look away. So I'm not going to get into a match with him where I'm pulling his head around. I'm going to change my body position and see if he'll follow me and come around. So my goal right now with him is to slowly educate him to pay attention to me with his inside eye. So as I keep moving around, he follows, but still is slightly arcing and yielding away. So like here, he wants to look away. I'm not in his inside eye anymore. He's not even paying attention to me, so therefore I have to bring the whip up and stop him. But as the head was going up, the back was dropping, the horse wasn't paying attention, and then the haunches start to wing out. So all your pieces start to come apart. So as you take your time and teach the horse how to follow you by softening the inside of the horse and softening the inside eye and teaching the shoulder to yield slightly away like I did in the beginning, then the horse starts to pay attention to you. But see, as I come back here, there we go, he almost was beginning to ignore me. So then I can go to my stops and starts. I don't really like that though, because the head is up, he's slightly looking out, and the shoulders or his front feet are too close together. If his front feet are too close together, he can't open the chest and drop the neck. He has to hollow out and invert. So I'm going to come in, shift it back again, back and slightly to the left or to the right, yielding the left shoulder is my goal. So I'm going to go a little bit of the left shoulder yield, and then I'm going to halt again, and I'm going to play around with shifting this until I like the balance that he finds through me maneuvering the horse's body around with minimal resistance, because he's somewhat educated and he knows when I move my body in certain places that means move this or move that. Left shoulder, right shoulder, not go forward, back it up. So the problem with this horse is when you go to ask him to back up or do anything like that, He has no connection through the middle of his body, so everything goes in all different directions. So if you can't get a horse to back up straight without pressure on their nose, you have no business riding a horse, in my opinion. So this is a little better, but I want a little more yield on the left shoulder. So now I'm going to come in, good boy, and we're going to do our little stretch again, which he's following. And what my goal is I'm going to try to open up the right fore. Now the horse is completely resisting, ignoring, fighting, ignoring, totally blowing me off, eyes twitching, mouth going, standing terribly right now. So it just goes to show you, when you put contact or try to adjust the horse, he resists and fights all in the wrong ways. And this is where the horse has been a very long case and a very intense study because of all these issues that he struggles with. He doesn't just offer it up like a normal horse would. He resists and fights every step of the way. See, and there he wanted to move me out of the inside eye because he has to let go of his body. And I'm going to work my way to the wall because there's no point in me trying to play games if he's trying to blow me off and resist against me. I'm not going there. Games. But that's all fake because he's just throwing his head down. He's not actually stretching. See, in there, when he went to back up, he was winging his haunch out, but my fence caught him on the bottom. And again, terrible, terrible. This is not what we want. We want the front end to stay open and the horse to allow us to help them. This horse does not allow you to help him, which is very sad. Begins to get defiant, and then it's a whole nother ballgame. So fun working with horses people have ruined. You know, and until the horse is soft and following, you can't really do a whole lot. As I go to reach for the nose, he looks away. And there's your issue right there. So when we go to stop, the head goes up, the front legs go together, and the hind legs spin out. And you can't fix that by pulling on the neck or with some form of gadget or anything. The horse has to be willing to make the effort to put into it to try to find the right answer. And if everything the horse does is resist against the human, it's a long road to help the horse find the right answer. And that's where it's like having an onion. Allie, go on, go sit down. Where you have to continue to peel the layer after layer after layer after layer after layer after layer. Go. So what happens when you lunge a horse like this and they don't follow you, when you guide them, they resist against you, then you are constantly fighting some form of resistance in the spinal column. So it's a long process. So ideally when we halt the horse should stop square or at least on the circle. He does not. He stops and he pivots the haunches out. That's resistance in the neck, the back, and dropping on the left shoulder as he looks away. So when the horse looks away, the rib cage pushes into us, the shoulder comes at us, the right fore is in a position where it's behind the left, and where's the horse headed? Away from me. So unfortunately, nobody ever taught this horse how to yield in the middle and to come around the person. They wanted to fight with him and try to hold him onto the circle. And you will never win trying to hold a horse on the circle. There are many strategies that you can do to educate a horse how to yield and arc and follow the contact. That's a whole nother life chapter. So again, stop, front end is funky, right shoulder is always behind the left, which means the left rib cage is always pushing in, which means the horse struggles with looking at you with the inside eye because he's not softening and letting the person in. So that takes a lot of time. The other thing is when he's going around on the lunge line and he puts pressure on the line, that's him walking away from me. So as I see this horse, he wants to walk away from me rather than come around me, which is another horrible thing that you can teach a horse in the beginning of lunging. So what happens is, when that happens, is the left hind leg pushes the body mass of the horse and tightens the rib cage on the left. It pushes the body mass of the horse away from you, which then drops the outside shoulder, which then braces the base of the neck on the right. And then people try to pull the horse around the circle rather than educate the horse how to push from the inside hind leg, yield the inside rib cage, and bring the outside shoulder around. So this horse has no concept how to release the rib cage to pick up the outside shoulder to come around on a circle. And when you begin with that and you educate the horse in that manner from when they're infantile, you have a problem on your hands. So that when you go to lunge it and you go to push the inside hind leg up to come around on the circle, the horse hits the hand and it literally runs away. So you create a monster, which this horse does that too. When you lunge him, he grabs the line, he runs away, he flips direction, he acts like a complete uneducated buffoon. And again, not his problem. Human created. Takes years to fix. Because every time the horse goes back to what they remember, and if you're not capable of being consistent, and you have clients involved who come and work their horses, it sets the horse back to a certain extent. Not on purpose, just learn patterns of behavior. And the issue that he has in his right hind leg, which you could actually hear it popping sometimes, is all due to somebody pulling him from probably a bit in his mouth or under the nose something, and the horse just spending its whole life resisting and trying to head away. we'll have a follow-up with a horse that actually does lunging properly. So definitely with this one, it's just having a lot of patience and teaching him stops and starts and helping him find the right answer. Anytime he would go by these trees over here, he would actually, a bald eagle, yes! What time is it?
Hang on.
Sweet!
12:57.
Nice! Oh, that is so cool! I'm sorry. That's a gift. Okay, back to work. Woohoo! Saw my ravens yesterday. Now I saw my bald eagle. I'm so excited. Such a dork. So anyways, you can actually stop it and restart it.
Okay.